Good evening, I'm Bill Maley, Brighton Supervisor. I'd like to welcome you all to the September 10, 2014 meeting of the Brighton Town Board. As always, it's a pleasure to have you here, whether you're here watching in person or whether you're at home. Now, I've been advised that at the moment, our internet streaming capability is down for some reason, so at the moment, this meeting is not being streamed live on our web page as it normally is. However, it is being broadcast on cable channel 12. So hopefully we can get that fixed. If not, I trust that we will be able to get that video feed up on our web page at some point, but we just can't say when at this point. So. Now, in case of an emergency, if you hear the town hall emergency alarm system go off, it's important that you exit the auditorium immediately. You can do that either through the exit to my right. If you go out that door, turn right, go down the stairs, and out the rear exit of the town hall building and move away from the building. Or you can leave through either of the two exit doors at the other end of this room, go straight out the front doors of Town Hall, down the steps, and away from the building. I would like to start the meeting tonight. Tomorrow, of course, is September 11th, the 13th anniversary of the terrible attack on America on September 11th, 2001. As a community this week, we've also endured and today memorialized the life and the service of Rochester Police Department officer Darrell Pearson. And so I'd like to start this meeting with a moment of silence in memory and in recognition of them all. Thank you. I know we all send our deepest condolences to the Pearson family. We'll now move to our pledge to the flag, and I'll ask Councilmember Chris Warner to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As always, as we deal with matters facing the town, we start these meetings with our open forum, an opportunity for people to address the board on any matter, whether or not it is something on the agenda. If you're at home and are watching, I guess tonight on Time Warner Cable, and would like to call in during the open forum and participate, you may call 303-3060. Someone will take your call and relay your question or comment to the board. In addition, we have a TDD line for people if you are deaf or hearing impaired and would like to participate in the open forum. You may call our TDD line at 784-5205. Again, 784-5205 to participate in the open forum on our TDD line. I have had one request from Judy Schwartz, who is normally at these meetings, but it is at another meeting and she'll be back, she expects later, but asked me to make everyone up here and really everyone in the community aware that there will be a bicentennial, sort of a fun event at the Brighton Farmers Market this coming Sunday morning at about or slightly after 10 o'clock. I know some of you go to the Brighton Farmers Market. If you haven't experienced it, I was surprised just yesterday to talk to someone who had never was not even aware that we had a Brighton Farmers Market. So the more we can do to get the word out about what a great activity it is and what great food and fun and music. But this Sunday in particular, there will be a fun bicentennial activity. So I encourage everybody here at the front desk to try to get there, and everybody watching at home or here in person to come and join us. So thank you, Judy, for that. Judy is a member of our bicentennial celebration committee, and I'll talk a little bit more about the bicentennial and some upcoming activities at the end of the meeting. But now again, we're in open forum. If there is anyone that would like to address the board during open forum, you may do so now. I would note that we do have one public hearing on the agenda tonight. It's a public hearing concerning a proposed temporary amendment to the town's noise control law relating to work to be done to complete the Edgewood Avenue Bridge project. So if you're here to make comment on that public hearing and you would like your comments to be part of the record of that public hearing, I would encourage you to wait until we get to that on the agenda. It will be very early on the agenda. But if there's anyone here that would like to address the board on any other matter, please come to the microphone. If you would, state your name and address, and we're happy to hear from you. Okay, then we will move on with the meeting agenda. And can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Oh, let me just, one more thing I normally mention and I didn't, but speaking of the agenda reminded me. We do have a public copy of the entire town board meeting packet on the table at the rear of the room, as well as copies of the agenda. And for those of you watching at home, that entire packet of materials, as well as the agenda, is also available on the town's website. And despite the problems we're having streaming at the moment, you will be able to access all those documents on our website at townofbrighton.org. All right, now let's go to that approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
Bill, I move to approve the agenda as prepared.
Second?
Motion by Councilmember Warner and seconded, I guess, by, I heard both Jim and Jason. We'll give it to Jim. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFoncio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Can I have a motion to approve and file town board meeting minutes for our April 13th town board meeting and a special town board meeting that was held on August 26th?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFoncio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. The public hearing is noticed for 7:30. Since we've gotten through the open forum so quickly, we'll skip over that item and go back to it when it is 7:30. We'll continue on with the agenda to bids. We have one bid. Jim, can I have a motion on that, please?
Yes, with regard to the approval to solicit for proposals to purchase one pickup truck with snowplow and rear liftgate to replace existing truck and authorize transfer of funds from the highway reserve account to the highway vehicle and equipment account to support the said purchase. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Tim, if you would briefly describe why we're needing to do this.
I'd be happy to do so.
I'm not
Bill,
sure you'd be happy to do so.
Though I was going to say, I wish we didn't have to. We did have some work we were going to perform on the truck that once we got into the dissembling and we got further into the items that we needed to replace, we also found that there was some severe engine damage. It's the cylinders were scored in the diesel engine of the pickup truck. So we estimated the cost for all the work at that point to be about $15,000 for a 10-year-old vehicle that had, I think almost 70,000 miles on it. And it just wasn't really worth putting that kind of money into it. And unfortunately, it's an unbudgeted circumstance, so we are going to have to request using the Equipment Reserve Fund to do this.
It is a truck that we had considered for our capital improvement plan, and replacement was in our upcoming capital improvement plan, although I believe 2016 rather than...
That is correct. Yeah, we had wanted 15, but being, team players, and as we're striving to keep everything in line for our residents and for the community, we were able to look at doing that a year beyond, but unfortunately it decided on its own accord that we needed to do it sooner.
So depending on the bids we get on this, Tim, this will be in the 2014 budget then? Would we procure this in 2014 from
Yes,
reserves?
that is correct, Chris, yes. We'd move forward on this immediately.
Which is why we do need to, as part of this, as Tim had mentioned, the funding would come from the existing Highway Equipment Reserve Fund.
Right.
And I would note, as noted in the resolution, that expenditures from that fund are subject to permissive referendum. Any further comments, questions on this matter? We have a motion and a second. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio? Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Next, communications. Can I have a motion to receive and file?
So moved. Second.
I want to draw particular attention to the first item of communication, which is the Monroe County Department of Planning and Development's 2015 through 2020, a 5-year capital improvement plan, which covers a variety of capital improvements that are being proposed by the County of Monroe over that 5-year period. Like the town, in our capital improvement budget, the proposed capital improvement items for future years are exactly that, proposals until they're actually budgeted. We do, however, anticipate that next year, and we've already had some discussions with the county about this, but we do anticipate that there will be paving work done by the county on Winton Road, from Highland Avenue to Westfall, I believe, or is it just Highland to the 12 Corners, Tim?
Just to the 12 Corners, Bill, and actually, unless they've coordinated with the city, it would stop at the city line, which is just shy
Just
of
shy
Highland,
of,
right? But,
yeah,
but for general purposes.
That's an area that I've certainly received concerns from residents about its condition. The good news, and there's some history on this, a number of years ago, the county had proposed widening, or at least there were some discussions about widening that portion of North Winton Road. It's actually South Winton Road, north of the 12 Corners. And I think there was a general consensus on the part of the town that widening Winton Road was not a good idea. It would really change the character of the community. This project will not widen Winton Road. It will, or at least it may, and part of the discussions that we've had has related to traffic flow in the 12 Corners, not only during that project, but also potentially once the project is complete. So that's probably the most significant item in the short term. There's also on Winton Road the viaduct near the school that will be replaced, and that was the subject of a public information meeting held by the county here in this room a couple of weeks ago. So, the full Monroe County capital improvement plan is available in the town clerk's office. Anybody's interested in that.
And the letter that we got from a citizen that lives on Eastland, to me, is it's very welcome letter asking us to please think hard, long and hard about having the property between 590 and Buckland Park developed. This person feels that it would not lower our taxes, it would not help the Brighton homeowners, it would only help the developer, and that he is asking us to think long and hard about it.
Thanks, Louise. Anything further? We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePoncio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Again, we're not quite to 7:30 yet, so we'll continue with the agenda with our committee reports. First, Parks and Recreation, Community Services. Louise.
Yes, the Parks and Recreation and Community Services has not met since our last meeting. Our first meeting of, we didn't meet at all during the summer, so our next meeting, our first meeting in a long time, will be next Monday, the 22nd. Next Monday?
Week from Monday.
Week from Monday, the 22nd of September at Brookside, and the public is welcome.
4:30 in the afternoon.
4:30 at the I'm not finished.
Oh, sorry.
4:30 at the afternoon, yes, I get there slowly in a roundabout way. And again, to remind everybody that on the 27th of this month, on Saturday, the 27th, between 10 and 2, we will have our pharmaceutical take-back here at the police station side of the campus. And on the 10th, on the 18th of October, we will have our electronics and shredding at the Highway Department. I noticed that a lot of towns are now getting into shredding, but we have to keep our numbers up, so everybody stay with Brighton. And it's been very, it's the people that we are using for the electronics are giving us money back for every pound that we collect. So we just got a check for $529 for the last time, and it's 3 cents a pound, and so keep bringing it in.
Thanks, Louise, for those events are all your brainchild. You've grown them and organized them year after year. Of course, the pharmaceutical take back is it's a part of a national program, and we would be remiss if we didn't thank the police department for their support, and without that, it would not be possible to have a pharmaceutical take-back day.
And I had the opportunity of going to the town of Penfield to talk to them about our programs, and they took a lot of notes. They were very excited. They have a cleanup day. They don't call it clean sweep, but they have a cleanup day once a year, and they took a picture of our T-shirts and thought, we have these businesses in our town, maybe we can get them to support us too. And so, but it was really interesting to go to a different town and talk to them, and they have, it's equivalent to our sustainability oversight committee, and it was fun to do that. I took Mike Guyon with me, our town engineer, because he lives in Penfield, and he's on one of the committees there too. And he stayed and got some notes about solar from them, and they got notes from us, and so we might be able to have some kind of a relationship.
Good. I'm glad you did that. Thanks, Louise.
Louise, you said those dates are on our website, right? For the next schedule
Yes,
cycle.
they're on the calendar, and flyers for all of those events are out on the table in our lobby. Chris, Finance.
Bill, as you're aware, I did not attend last week's Finance Committee, which was chaired by the Vice Chair, Jason DePonzio, so I defer to my good colleague.
Right,
Met
thank you.
last Tuesday, September 2nd, and each of the matters that were reviewed at the FAST meeting are on tonight's agenda. The additional matter that was tabled for research and discussion pertained to the sick leave policy revision for full-time employees, that we continued our discussions regarding the request for a town board action to adopt a revision to the town's sick leave policy for non-represented full-time employees to allow for the limited use of available sick time for parental leave upon the birth or placement of a child. So that was tabled for further review, and that should be coming up at a future meeting. Our next meeting will be next Tuesday, September 16th. We meet at 3:30 in the afternoon in the Stage Conference Room, and the public is invited to attend.
Thank you, Jason. Public safety.
Public safety. Public safety met yesterday morning at 8 a.m., and actually this month is a busy month for special events. And that was the bulk of our conversation, which included the Brugler's Bagel Run, which is the 5K race out of the JCC. That's this coming Sunday, September 14th. And then, of course, a week from Friday is homecoming. And that's the parade from Brighton High School up to the 12 Corners, and then just discussing the logistics of the street closures and all of the coordination of the various agencies involved to pull that off. Also, we have the Rochester Marathon on the 21st, so that's going to be a busy weekend. That goes through the town of Brighton, the full marathon course as well as the half marathon course. And our public safety agencies, our police, assist with the manning of that route as well. Our next regularly scheduled public safety meeting will be on Tuesday, October 14th. We meet at 8 o'clock in the morning in the lower level community meeting room, and the public is invited to attend.
Thanks, Jason. Jim, Public Works.
As Public Works met this past Monday, and we, like the Public Safety Committee, meet in the lower level community meeting room. Our meeting started at 9, and during that time, during the open forum, we had a discussion from residents from Newcrest requested to be placed on the October agenda for a discussion regarding drainage and sanitary sewer concerns with some of the heavy rains. So staff is doing their homework on that, and we're going to have a good open discussion about that.
Yeah, we're going to put that on the open forum
Right.
for the
Right
next
on the
meeting.
open
So
forum.
we'll do it right away. People
Yeah.
can come in and,
Move right through and not have to sit there for the whole meeting. The next item under old business, we had Town Code proposed Chapter 207 amendments regarding animals, keeping of animals on private property. Final review of the draft code revisions were discussed, and the Public Works staff will revise and proceed with submitting the final proposed document through Public Works for review by the town board here. So, also, under the town code, we were discussing the question of vacant homes. Discussion of this topic was resumed from last month's meeting, and building and planning staff reviewed the Pittsford local law relative to our town code, and generally we found our code addresses the same issues that Pittsford's code does. The variations appear to be relatively minor. And with regard to the vacant property registry, the primary sentiment is that single most important element is managing those situations. Managing those situations effectively is the ability to determine who is holding the mortgage. And in many cases, those are banks. And the ability then to contact them, to apprise them of concerns that we might identify with regard to the maintenance of that property. Presently, the Department of Public Works does have a somewhat less formal registry, which is used to track the maintenance and foreclosure proceedings of any properties in the town. And at this time, there was no overriding sense that we should be changing anything on our particular code vis-a-vis that Pittsford has, because we find that there's relatively minor differences between the two.
well, I'm not sure I think there was certainly a consensus that we not do a registry, but I certainly would support, and I think it's important that we consider and hopefully take action on that portion of the law. And this was, again, I've said this before, I think it's unfortunate that Attorney General Schneiderman's proposed legislation was not adopted by the legislature last year, that would make lenders joint and severally liable with homeowners. What does that mean? It means that when you have, a house becomes vacant often during foreclosure proceedings. That's when the maintenance issues can become particularly acute. Under New York law as it now stands, And there was a case down on Long Island last year that confirmed this. Only the property owner can be liable, and often the property owner, it just, has moved, may not even be in the state anymore. But the lender is still there, and the lender should take responsibility, in my opinion, for at least the basic level of maintenance to avoid health and safety issues that can be caused by things like, long grass or overgrown vegetation, houses that are no longer enclosed. And if the lender is also liable, it gives them a powerful incentive to make sure they maintain the home. So I pretty strongly believe, and I concur, that a registry, given the number of vacant homes that we have, and a charge to property owners to maintain such a registry, at this point, I'm not sure would be warranted. But I do believe, and I hope that, we can work with council, and I know Ken has been looking at that law and how to integrate some of this in. At the very least, that joint and several liability, I would like to see us consider for a future public hearing.
And I think that was
Yeah,
probably
fair enough.
the significant change in the Pittsford approach. The
Yeah.
registry is just one mode of doing it, but
Yeah.
the important thing, as you point out, Bill, is they've expanded the definition of owner to include the mortgage holder. Once foreclosure's been commenced, I believe.
Correct, yeah, it's got to be an active foreclosure.
It's got to be an active foreclosure, and it's got to be a vacant property.
Why?
Because it's a good question. And remember, we have quite extensive property maintenance provisions in our code that Chris Roth and other town staff actively enforce.
Yes.
The problem becomes when it's vacant, the homeowner is rarely in a position to continue to take responsibility. If the property is still occupied, there is someone there, we have a point of contact, and typically, with our good neighbor approach, the lawn gets done. It doesn't change the fact that they still have an obligation to do it. But once the house is vacant, typically the lender is the only recourse that we have. Now, I think, too, we could consider whether to make the lender responsible at an earlier stage, but I guess I am concerned.
Well, I just think that most of the complaints that I have heard are from neighbors against homes that have people living in them, the owners or renters, but usually the owners, and they're not being taken care of. So why? And the bank certainly still has authority or has some hold on those properties as well. And if they see that or are told that their properties are not being kept up and are not being maintained, I think if it's empty or if it's not empty, that they should be
You're going to run into
responsible.
a conflict with the owner. If the bank shows up and attempts to go onto the property, you may have physical conflict.
Yeah, if they're not in default under a mortgage, there's really no basis to have the bank come in, and Chris is right, you could well have a conflict.
But they'll come in if you stop paying.
We don't want to
And they'll
encourage
start
people.
foreclosure, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so,
and- It's a practical thing. If somebody's living there, the bank really can't practically come in and start doing work on your house while you're living there.
No,
It just-
because they
That's just a practical thing. If it's vacant and the bank is not pursuing a foreclosure as a practical matter, they're just not paying attention to the property at all. They have no financial motivation to move forward with the property. But if they've started the foreclosure process, now we know that they're engaged with that property. They've already spent money to hire a lawyer and probably do a whole bunch of other things to get that foreclosure process moving. Now we have some entity that we can go to, and we also have their lawyer's name that's going to be filed in the county clerk's office, so we know how to reach them. So it's a more pragmatic way of addressing that problem rather than just in the abstract. Because we really want to solve a problem. We don't want to just create a law that's going to do nothing.
We're not suggesting that those are the only homes we're going to address
right.
for property maintenance issues.
right.
We're really adding another tool in the toolbox for that specific set of properties where, A, we do sometimes have problem making the point of contact, and B, the lender has the deepest pockets and
Well, I was surprised last time you told me that in New York, the person who bought the house owns the house, not the bank. I thought it was, wherever I'm from, the bank owns the house till it's paid off.
no.
So that's why I was confused why people couldn't go to the bank and say, look at this property is a mess. Don't you care? I mean, you own, but you don't.
No.
It's also assuming they have a mortgage, Louise. I mean, there could be a
Correct.
distressed property that is owned outright by the homeowner, so.
Yep.
But this will be a matter of further discussion at the
Yeah.
Public Works Committee.
Exactly.
It's a very important
Coming
issue.
up next month.
These zombie homes, so-called,
Yeah.
can be a
Right.
blight in a neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I do. I hope, again, that I anticipate that the Attorney General in this upcoming legislative session will try to get that legislation passed. Again, I hope it happens statewide. But if not, we need to look at how we can incorporate it.
That's just for
into our-
foreclosures, right?
so It's for foreclosures, it's for vacant homes, and again, the one other thing that state legislation does, because it has been a problem, sometimes lenders act in a way to encourage homeowners to vacate the house. They may mislead the homeowner as to the fact that they continue to have the right to stay in the house until the foreclosure is completed. That does two things. One, it really, once a homeowner is out of their home, it's very much more unlikely that foreclosure will be solved by anything other than an ultimate sale and a loss of the home, a loss of the roof over the head that a family's been on. But it also, of course, means that it goes vacant and becomes a greater maintenance problem for us. So under the Attorney General's legislation, lenders would be also liable for misleading property owners into vacating a home that they have the right to stay in. So both for the property maintenance point of view and also for the sort of consumer rights point of view, I hope, that legislation gets through both the Senate and the Assembly.
We won't have to address it piecemeal.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
And the last item that we covered, and at the
Sorry to
pub-
interrupt you there, Jim.
Well, no, that's the reason for these reviews, is public safety, community services, finance administration, public works, is to keep this in front of the public so they know exactly what's going on with their government and their, administration. Anyway, last item was the incentive zoning, the Jewish Senior Life proposal. Representatives came before the Public Works Committee to discuss the status of the project and specifically the environmental review that is really required and that it needs to be based upon previous information submitted for the site. So they are going to document how the current proposal compares to the former, and we'll be back next month to basically review this with us. Tim, anything on that?
No, it's just that one of the things that was noted, Jim, that the proposal is less intense on many fronts, if you will, than the proposal that was made back in the 1990s. So that a lot of the things that potentially needed to be mitigated then are probably not going to rise to that threshold now.
Yes.
So that, they're probably just going to be able to document that there's a lot of less intensity from a number of different demands on the, on the infrastructure and the site than were, thought formerly.
And if that's the case, the town board would ultimately, consider taking action on a negative declaration.
Yes.
Seeker
and that-
rather than requiring a full environmental.
And that's a good point, Bill. It's just that we need to have them go through the exercise just to document it, though we know that a lot of it is already there, but we want to have that formally so that the board can make a well-informed decision in that regard, obviously.
This new proposal basically is very much in keeping with our desire for greening of Brighton. Anyway, that concluded the meeting, and our next scheduled meeting will be Monday, October 6th, at 9 a.m. in the community meeting room below us here.
Oh, could I ask one thing?
Sure.
On the Attorney General's report, what has submitted, you know, anybody who's bought a house has signed a million papers, handed out money constantly, you know, for that hour or so that they're in their attorney's office or the mortgage people's office. I think it should be made more clear to people when they're buying their houses where this money's going, what is the mortgage holder's place in this, that he doesn't own the house, that the mortgage holder is not the one that's going to be owning the house. I mean, I just assume that after going through that and going through refinancing a couple of times, that I didn't own the house. They did. I'm giving all this money to them to keep the paperwork clean, and something should be in there that will clarify some things.
Well, that's actually really why you do sign so many papers and why there are so many disclosures, is that over the years, the various regulatory requirements have required lenders to disclose a lot of information to homeowners. And, you know, I think it's fair to say, and there's a couple of my colleagues that are also attorneys sitting up here, but I think a lot of it is you know, a function of not only those papers, which are long, and although there's talk about plain English, still are full of legalese. Mm-hmm. But it's important that that each homeowner's attorney, you know, as best as possible, walk people through a closing, and that's why I'll just put in a plug. Lawyers aren't always bad guys, as we sometimes are portrayed. Most communities, in fact, the buyer of a home doesn't have a lawyer at the table. The Rochester area is somewhat unusual in that, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's a real important part of how people do better understand what it is that they're signing when they sign all those documents. So, but I do, you know, certainly, you know, the legislature continues to look at the kind of disclosures that are made in real estate closings, and you know, adds things on relating to, you know, things like smoke detectors and you know, other things to make sure folks do know as much as possible about the house they're buying.
But Louise is correct, but I think the people are made quite aware of the fact that they have the primary responsibility to maintain their homes. There's no way around that. However, in the end, there comes a time when an individual just abandons their obligation and walks away for any number of different reasons: financial, emotional, age, or just irresponsibility. Could be any of those. But in the end, the bank has a financial incentive, but unfortunately, banks are very, very slow to act, and many times ignorant in the way they act, foolish in the way they act. And this will give us an opportunity to goad them into action for their own benefit, because that will maintain the value of that property so that they take less of a loss upon the foreclosure.
And they should also be made to disclose who they've sold the mortgage to, if they have.
That's a disaster, absolutely.
Okay.
Off my soap.
Back to the public hearing.
We'll go back to the public hearing now on the agenda. As we mentioned, this is a public hearing concerning a proposed temporary amendment to the town's noise law relating to the Edgewood Avenue Bridge replacement. And I'll ask the town clerk, has the necessary legal notice been given on this matter?
Published in September 3rd, DNC.
Thank you. And in that case, I hereby declare this public hearing to be open on proposed local law number 6, the temporary noise amendment relating to the Edgewood Avenue Bridge replacement project. Tim, would you like to speak briefly to this matter?
I'd be happy to, Bill. We also have in the audience representatives from the county, their engineering department, the contractor, and also the county's consultant, their on-site representative, that would probably be able to speak to this a little bit more than I. But as you know, when you get into some of the construction work, it becomes a little less predictable, and some of the things become quite compressed as far as time goes to do things. And I think the request is specifically because the bridge being replaced is a steel deck bridge and will be replaced with precast sections. They need a crane. They will rent a crane for the period of time they need to set the precast sections, and they'd like to do that all at one time. And that the concern is that the time period to do this might go beyond our normal working hours permitted under the town code. And that's probably as a precise a statement as I can provide for the request. I think I would ask Karen if you wanted to come up, or anyone else wanted to come up and answer questions if the board had that for the public hearing, to clarify things and I guess just expound upon certain aspects of the project.
Good evening.
And if you would please,
Yep.
for the record, just state your name.
My name's Karen Cox. I'm with Monroe County DOT. I'm the county project manager for the Edgewood Avenue Bridge project. Tim gave everyone a good explanation of why we would be looking for amendment to the noise ordinance on the day that we set the precast structure. It's usually a long day. It's cost effective to do it all in one day because rental of the crane is very expensive. And I'm sure if you haven't been down to the job site, you are familiar with that area. It's very cramped. It's a very cramped job site. So our feeling is that it may take longer. Typically, we can set these structures in a 12-hour day without any problem. But because the contractor is going to have to be very careful when they are picking these large pieces of precast off the flatbed trucks and then swinging them into place, they weigh several tons. They're going to have to work slower than they normally would. And so our thought was that we might go past the 7 o'clock noise ordinance time. We don't expect to be going into the evening hours and needing lights because it's not very safe to be setting precast in the dark or under lights. And currently I know we asked for a range of dates. That was mostly because the operation is somewhat weather dependent. Our current schedule is that we're going to be setting the bridge structure on October 2nd.
One of the other things I think, Karen, I ask you maybe to elaborate upon this too, is that some of the overhead utilities might be a little precarious as far as maneuvering in the area, just because, like you said, it's a very tight job site. I'm not sure, but I believe that at one point that was a concern too, as far as what RG&E was going to facilitate helping you with as far as getting the overhead utilities out of the way.
Certainly. We did have a progress meeting yesterday at which we discussed the issue of the utility lines on the east side of the bridge. We had already made arrangements with Frontier prior to the job going out to bid to have them move their utility lines temporarily. Yesterday, when we spoke with RG&E, we have worked out a way that they will be able to move the electric lines out of the way. So that will help as far as the efficiency of the operation. There's, the contractor will still have to be careful though because of the proximity of the houses to where we're going to be setting the precast units.
Does that mean that if RG&E temporarily moves their lines, that the people will be without power?
There will be one customer without power. It's the Sherwin-Williams business, and RG&E has been working with that customer to keep them aware of the date that the business will be without power. And there won't be any homes without power, and the reason that Sherwin-Williams is mostly because they require three-phase power. Homes require, I guess it's two-phase power. What we hope to do is not to have the power off for the entire day. When it, the contractor will start setting the precast on that side of the bridge or that side of the road and then move towards the west. So as soon as it's safe for RG&E to be able to put their lines back in place and turn the power on, they will.
Thank you, Karen. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board on this public hearing? Anyone here on the board that has any questions for Karen or anyone else on the county's team here?
Well, to answer questions I've gotten from a couple of constituents is, all right, then, if this will be hopefully set October 2nd, when do you think the project will be done?
Currently, the schedule shows opening the road, November 11th? Yeah, so we will, we don't keep the road closed until the very end of the project, usually. What we ask is that once the guide rail and bridge rail are installed, that the road be open to traffic. So if there are still some operations such as restoration, lawn restoration, and that type of thing that the contractor needs to do, they will do that under flag traffic. We don't like to keep the bridge closed once it appears to be almost done, because people's patience starts to wane. I can usually tell when people have reached their saturation point. When it looks done and 10 days have passed, I'll start getting phone calls. Has seemed to be the statistical deadline for people's patience.
Thank you.
Certainly.
I just want to make sure there's no surprises or problems as this project goes into that precast setting. And I guess I'm just a little unsure of why there's a need for this extension if the plan is not to work in the dark. My expectation is that by the time that precast is delivered in late September or early October, that it's going to be dark at about 7 o'clock in the evening. And so if it's dark at 7 and it's dangerous to work with a crane, even with lights after 7, and our ordinance or our law already allows work until 7, I'm missing the reason why that's needed. And I just want to make sure we don't have a situation where under the temporary amendment we're approving, we're extending time till 8 p.m. and we end up having 9 p.m. It says 9 p.m. We have a surprise of the use of lights in the neighborhood without really knowing that that was in fact going to be done or going to be necessary. And then I guess a corollary to that question is, if it's going to take a little bit longer, maybe than 12 hours, does it make any sense to push the front end of that time period so that you would start prior to 7 a.m., maybe start mobilizing around 6 or 6:30? And I don't know, what
I
the
think the
board
neighbors-
feels about that, but I'm just saying from a pragmatic point of view.
Tom, do you want to, this is Tom Keeler from Keeler Construction. Do you want to answer the question about going past the 7 o'clock time?
I'm sorry, if you would come up here just so that the folks
the
at home
cameras can get you.
can hear you. And if you just state your name and,
Tom Keeler, Keeler Construction.
thank you.
Some of the things that we're challenged with here on this job that are out of our control, number one, are the weather. Number two is the rising creek that we're having to work around. And number three would be the unfortunate circumstance of possibility of equipment breakdown. So if we have a crew there that is going to have a crane and obviously trucks delivering the structure and the rental costs associated with that crane and trucks and people, labor, if we're close to that deadline of darkness, or we're close to that deadline of having the project completed and put together, we'd like the opportunity to finish it if we could. Because
I understand that. I just mean, I'm looking at a chart of sunrise and sunset. September 30th, sunsets at 6:53 PM,
Correct. Yeah. And sunrise at that time somewhere around 7:30.
7:07. Yeah.
So we are restricted.
You're tight on
We are
the 12
very
hours.
tight.
It's just, what I don't want to have happen is for the town board to pass this temporary amendment with the expectation that there's not going to be the need for any supplemental lighting, and then have supplemental lighting on site, because these guys are gonna hear it loud from the neighbors if that happens. So I guess the plain question to you is, if you need to take advantage of the temporary amendment that is going to be acted on soon, which gives you permission to continue construction after 7 PM and as late as 9 PM, are you going to need to use lights?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so there will be lights if you need to go after 7. All right.
Ken,
So,
to,
like I said, there's a lot of things that we can't control here that we are, one of them, the most significant being the weather. We've been challenged already with the creek there. Everybody knows, I think, how quickly that rises. So, we're just trying to set the date and be organized and get it done as quick as we can.
Sure.
Is the focus then of the amendment noise and not lights, and does it need to be amended?
Well,
Is that
no,
what you're
it
suggesting,
raises,
Ken?
it raises this question. So, the reason that the amendment is needed is because no construction activity under the noise law is allowed after 7 PM.
Correct.
So whether it's nominal construction, or whether they're still trying to put the bridge in place, or whether they're just cleaning up their equipment or trying to fix some equipment or whatever, if it's after 7 o'clock, it's technically in violation of the noise law. So you have to give them that permission if you want to let them work later than 7 PM. However, when we pass these, often we add conditions on to the amendments that would mitigate some of the effects of that work being done after hours. And I just don't want the board to take action on this item without knowing that by giving this temporary amendment, you are also likely saying that they can work with lights. And if there are any conditions that the board would think would be appropriate with respect to the use of the lights, or the type of the lights, or the placement of the lights, or the direction of the lights, that would be, this would be an appropriate time to have that conversation.
And for myself, given the time of day through 9 o'clock, I recognize, I hope that it won't be necessary. I also recognize it might be. I don't think it's so late into the night that we have a major issue. We do have some conditions in here relating to some very loud types of equipment, like jackhammers, pavement breakers. We ask that backup alarms be disabled if they're working at night. But, the lights,
Least of our work.
yeah, I mean, from my perspective anyway, if this was going to 2 in the morning, I'd feel differently.
yeah, yeah.
And I think we are looking for this amendment. I mean, obviously, the contractor will work as efficiently as they can. So it's quite possible that they could get this work done in that 12-hour period if everything goes right. But, as Mr. Keeler said, sometimes equipment breaks down, sometimes the units don't set as quickly as we'd like. I'd like to think that we knock on wood, that we will have a smooth day and will be done before 7 o'clock. But
Construction being what it is, that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And I do want to say, by the way, I appreciate, the fact that the county, that you and your whole organization works with the town on these. I think that's an important intergovernmental relationship, and we appreciate it. And I also appreciate, I know you've worked very hard to minimize the impact on the immediate neighbors of the project, and I greatly appreciate that.
Well, thank you. That's actually, I can give kudos to Jim Bennett, who's our engineer in charge in the field. He's the one that's been very conscious of the fact that we're working in people's front yards, people's backyards, and he's done a great job. He's a
Thank you.
good person to have.
My question is, as far as the window, I mean, I know we're looking at a window of opportunity right around that beginning of October. And does our code define as far as when this will end, when it will begin? Is it just blanket until this is done, that it's extended, that the work hours can be extended until 9 o'clock? Or is this going to be specific enough to just address the placement of the precast concrete?
The definition of substantial completion,
Yes.
you know,
Well-
uses the term that, you know, when that precast work is being installed, but it also says in no event later than October 10th.
Right,
And-
we're only looking for this amendment for that particular operation.
And October 10th, you
That would-
believe is enough of a window?
Yes, yes.
And the one thing is, can I read this though and interpret it to say, well, I can start tomorrow working until 9 o'clock, as opposed to the intention being just for the placement of the concrete, of the precast concrete?
Yeah, we talked about whether it made sense, if you recall, Supervisor, about
I do.
whether we should state in the amendment that it is limited to a 24-hour period or one working day, as the case may be. I know that's the expectation. I don't know that that can be the guarantee, though, on the contractor's
The weather
done
doesn't
in one
cooperate.
day. So it's a little difficult to put, I think that's how we came down on that although it's intended to be a one-day amendment, sometime between the end of September and October 10th, it might not be. Let's say the crane breaks down and they have to go into day 2, and it takes them longer on day 2 still, you know, or
Yep.
day 3. And so I think it's a difficult thing to do. I understand the concern, though.
Yeah, okay. Now, I mean, given that this is a project that ultimately benefits the public, and I'm sure that the residents are looking forward to having their road back open to traffic, that was just a question that I had. I mean, I'm sure that the applicant isn't going to be taking this as carte blanche to then start working after 7 o'clock for the remainder of the project.
No,
just-
we
just
have
for this.
talked with the contractor about that, you know, that this application is strictly for that one operation.
I believe it would also cost them more to do that,
Yes.
paying all that overtime every day. Just a guess.
That's the practical answer. Okay, thanks.
They've had a few long days because we had some delays at the beginning of the project while we were working out water main issues, and they did work those long days, but that was to get the project back on schedule. Because we do have a set date that we've contractually that the contractor needs to be done with their work.
Good.
Okay.
Any other comments, either from the board or from members of the audience? Hearing none, I declare this public hearing to be closed and would consider a motion to take action on this proposed local law.
And the matter before us with regard to the conduct of this public hearing and the request going forward that proposed temporary amendment to the local noise local law has been determined and will not have a significant effect on the environment. And through its environmental liaison officer, we've prepared a negative declaration under seeker with respect to the temporary amendment. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Any further discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
All right.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Again, thank you very much, and
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate your coming in, and we all look forward to the
Yes.
completion.
Drive
Okay, we'll go back then to the start of new business, specifically reading and approval of the claims. Chris?
Bill, I've reviewed claims tonight totaling $287,451.57. Those of note, at least to my eye, was the purchase of a attenuator shared between the Highway and Sewer Department through Mr. Commissioner Chief's office for some $27,245. This is a piece of warning equipment, is that correct, Tim, on job sites?
Yeah, it's a piece of equipment, Chris, that you put in between your personnel and the traffic, and it's attached to the back of a vehicle, so if someone runs into the vehicle, it basically is a collapsible barrier that minimizes impacts as best it can to whoever hit it, but it also provides that level of protection for our people out there working on the project.
I see you put in asphalt with some $31,000. Also, I'm quite disappointed, Commissioner, to see a assault invoice for $37,000. Does that bode ill for our season? Or?
Chris, that was money well spent because it was the allotment we needed to purchase, or we could purchase before the expiration of the contract, last year's contract, and salt prices will be going up this year.
Well, good job then. And the one of interest in the Recreation Department for Ms. Cotter, please. The Children's Circus for some $410 instruction. Well, how does that program go?
It's a program we're joining with Aerial Arts of Rochester to try and just get a new content area for our little ones to go and participate and get an experience with circus art, so like low aerial stuff. They were working on the silks and hammocks. They have a couple new fall programs with us, Storytime Trampoline, and again another round of the circus art. So it's sort of a little bit into the new realm of entertainment and activities to keep the kids busy and interested. So it was well received over the summer, so we're hoping to continue that and grow the program throughout the season. So it was fun.
That's great. I love to see the variety of things, but that was some $400, but that's funded by the participants in the program.
Exactly.
So, but Bill, I find the claims to be in order, and I move that they be approved for payment.
Second.
Discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Jim?
Next item is to receive and file an amended final generic environmental impact statement for the University of Rochester's proposed institutional plan development, IPD, acronym, project, with approval to consider the final generic environmental impact statement as complete. I move in the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
I'll call on you again, Tim.
Thank you, Bill. As you know, there's been a lot of time and effort put into this, not only by the university, but also by this board, staff, to get to this point. You have attached sections of the document that have been revised and deemed complete at this point, and that's what you're voting on, the acceptance of this document at this time. And this has been a labor of love for just about everybody involved.
And Tim, if you would, if the town board takes the requested action tonight, next steps on this project, both environmentally as well as for the substance of the project.
Right, well, we have the acceptance to receive and file this communication, and that at this point, the document is complete, and we end up moving into the next phase, which is
We have a finding statement
Yep.
to prepare, I believe.
We prepare the finding statement. It allows us to move forward with the larger IPD parcel, process. Bill, I know the university has a project waiting in the wings that they would like to move forward. As part of that, we need to also probably, in some respects, culminate a number of the other I term them as loose ends that we've been working on as well, from the standpoint of the document and agreements or pilots that we would have to have in place with the U of R.
Okay. Good, but I think, again, it's important to note, although we're close to the end of the environmental review process, that final finding statement would still be something, and that's a document that's our obligation to complete. Right. We would be working on that. In fact, I think we've already begun that process, so.
Is part of the incentive, the amenities, a pilot?
Yes, it is.
And has that been settled yet?
It has, at least the general financial terms, which will include, and this is in addition to several other amenities that the university has committed to, including a donation of land, but they would be paying to the town an annual payment, and that annual payment would be adjusted for inflation. That would start currently at 45 cents per square foot per year.
I think kudos to Bill for going forward with this in, not only with the university, but with other tax-exempt properties in the town. It's something that, in my opinion, should have been done a long time ago, and he has done it, and I thank you.
Thanks, Louise. I appreciate that. And I think it's obviously testament to the university's willingness to work with us in good faith, to recognize the impact that their operations have, and the great benefit that the university brings to the community in so many ways, economic growth and great educational opportunities, as well as medical and other opportunities. So, but thank you very much for that, and we look forward to the continued review and proceeding with all that. So we have a motion and a second to act on the resolution that would find this FGEIS to be complete. Any further discussion?
Oh, I'm sorry, I have one
sure.
more question about the donated land. There's going to be a new park developed, or is it just going to be open space on off of Crittenden?
At the moment, there are no actual plans for development of that parkland. It is contiguous not only to the existing land that we have there, but also the Lehigh Valley Trail, but there are no current plans and no funding to do anything with that land once we accept the donation. Anything further? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFanzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Thank you. Jason?
Yes, the next matter is for approval to accept from the New York State Attorney General's Invest program up to $15,320 in reimbursement funding to be used as 50% of the total cost for purchase of 33 protective vests for the Brighton Police Department. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Mark, anything you'd like to?
This is a program that was funded at the federal level. The Attorney General has made some seized asset money available so that we can fund it at the state level. There's some gridlock in Congress on the funding of the VEST program, so this takes out any concern about funding at the federal level and reimburses us as per the past. Pretty good that the Attorney General is doing this.
Thank you. Discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFanzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye, and again, thank you to the Attorney General for that workaround. Louise?
The next matter is to authorize the supervisor to execute agreements with 2 veterinarians and 2 veterinary technicians to provide veterinary-related services to be performed at the annual Town of Brighton Rabies Clinic to be held on October 4th, 2014. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And that rabies clinic will be held where, Mark?
At the highway department, some trucks out and we move some animals in.
Great, great. That's an annual event and gets good response. Further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Chris?
Bill, the next item is to approve the amendment of the authorization table of organization to remove security worker part-time position and change the security worker part-time on-call position to a flat salary on the wage schedule as set forth in our resolution, which I move that we adopt.
Second.
Dan, any comments on this?
Well, just briefly, we removed the security, we haven't had a security worker. We created a evening labor position to accomplish some of the same work and then get a lot more bang for the buck, as it were. And this is just filling in a gap that kind of received. If at some point laborers will be entitled to take vacation or God forbid may just catch a cold and be out for a day. And this would just allow us to have somebody in place so that if we have outside groups booked, we wouldn't have to cancel on them, or the town clerk wouldn't necessarily have to spend the night.
We certainly wouldn't want to see that. Okay, good, thanks. Further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio? Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Jim?
Next item is to approve, establish a half-pay sick leave policy for permanent part-time employees who work a minimum of 20 hours per week. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
This is something that we've worked with Gary Brandt, our HR director, on. It does reflect the fact that our permanent part-time employees have, in many cases, worked here for many, many years. We have a policy for full-time employees, but we felt that, given the long tenure of so many of our permanent part-time people, permanent really means permanent. In some cases, it almost feels like that on the limited basis that we have in here, that this was a benefit that we would like to reflect. Suzanne, any other thoughts?
It is a limited benefit and a maximum of 12 weeks in the career of the individual.
And that's important to note.
And when I say career, as you said, a lot of our part-timers have been with us a long time, and this is their career.
Absolutely.
So it's nice to be able to offer, hopefully they don't have to take advantage of this benefit, but if there was a situation in their life that they needed to take advantage of this, that the opportunity would be there for them.
It kicks in on a sliding basis after they've been with us for at least a year, 2 weeks, a year, and again, it can only be used a maximum of 12 weeks during their career. Any more discussion?
I think just the way this is worded, clarification is, this is just lowering to at least, working at least 20 hours a week instead of 30 in order to be eligible for this benefit. So this is only, it's not a minimum that you work up to that, but you must work at least 20 hours a week. Up to now, we've had this, the limit, the minimum was 30 hours, so.
And it does have some differences from our full-time policy, but it does, parallel it in most respects. Anything further? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Jim?
Next item is to approve an amendment to the comp time policy for full-time, non-representative employees I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
These changes were really designed to, in some cases, reflect some changes in the law, and in other cases, really to reflect the way we were treating comp time that may not have been as well laid out in writing, so our employees would all understand how comp time works for everybody. So I think it's again, it's a project we've worked on with
Good clarification.
Gary Brandt, and glad we can consider it tonight.
Yeah.
Anything further? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Louise?
The next matter is for approval to accept $3,550 in cash donations from area businesses for the 2014 Sunset Serenade Concert Series. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And since we like to thank our donors by name when it's a reasonable number, Louise, if you don't mind just reviewing the list of the people that support that nice music series.
Yes, there's the Legacy of Clover Blossom, the Children's Center, Wegmans Food Markets, Friendly Home, St. John's Meadows, and ESL Federal Credit Union.
Great.
Is that the
Thank you.
Children's Center of Brighton?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you to all those great businesses.
Yeah.
Motion and a second. Discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye, and more discussion, more donations, Louise.
Okay, where are we here? The next matter is for approval to accept $1,300 in cash donations from area businesses for the 2014 Fun Fit 5K race event. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
And-
Second.
Thanks, Jim, sorry. And
the
those sponsors are,
Sponsors are J.P. Morgan Chase, Gary Godin, LDL Pools, and Summit Federal Credit Union. Very good.
thank you to all of you. Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Why don't you do the next one too, Louise?
Okay, the next motion is to authorize the 2014 budgetary transfer of $13,000 from the rec contractual instructors account into the rec part-time wages account to support payments of remaining part-time hourly wages for 2014. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Okay.
Discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Chris?
Bill, the next item is to authorize 2014 budgetary transfers totaling $13,912.25 from various highway department accounts into the highway machinery and vehicle parts account to support purchase of parts still needed for the remainder of 2014. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney for the town.
Second.
Discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Jason?
Next matter seeks approval to accept donation of $2,559.20 and increase expenditure funds for same in program supplies accounts to support recent funding provided by the New York State Attorney General's Office to the Brighton Police for the naloxone program. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
We've talked about this in the past, but now we're formally accepting the donation. Mark, anything to
As
say
of
about the program?
middle of July, we're fully operational. We have the antidote, we have the training. All our staff, myself included, carry the antidote, and we hope never to have to use it.
Indeed. Okay. Motion and a second. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Louise?
The next matter is to authorize donation of particular surplus computers and peripherals deemed to be no longer usable and having a resale value of less than $50 total to the Action for a Better Community Agency's it's supposed to be micro?
No, it's actually Micra.
Cycle program. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Boy, you guys are jumping all over each other tonight. I'm so pleased that we can do this.
Yeah.
Technology does become obsolete. It seems faster and faster all the time. We have used in the past a website to attempt to sell equipment that we thought had some value. In fact, you'll be asked in a moment to dispose of some that we really do believe is junk and has no value. We had some last year that we thought had some value, and we sent it down to this website that was going to sell these things online. How'd we do, Suzanne?
I think we got about $60 for about 30 items.
Not very good. I mean, and the value that we can get for the community by donating this to Action for a Better Community. ABC, it's a long-standing, most people are familiar with them in the Rochester area. They have grant programs with companies like Microsoft where they are able to get software after these computers are wiped clean, with other suppliers that they're able to use these donations and essentially repurpose them, rebuild them as workable, maybe not cutting edge, but workable computers that are able to be donated to other community groups or people in need. And kudos to ABC for running that program. And I don't know, was it you, Suzanne, or who became aware of the program?
Sue Wentworth,
Sue
our
Wentworth
IT
did.
coordinator.
So I'm really glad we're able to do this. I believe it's consistent with our obligations, and so I'm recommending that we move ahead. We have a motion and a second. Any further comment, discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Chris?
Bill, the next item is to approve and approval to deem certain computer equipment with no or minimal value and are no longer serviceable as junk with authorization to appropriately dispose of the same. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney for the town.
Second?
This is equipment that could not be
Right.
necessitated through ABC and will get disposed of as junk.
And I talked to Suzanne last time about if they wanted to bring it to the recycling because we'll at least get some money for it, and because they couldn't do it as the town. I mean, somebody could bring it in. Is that how it works? Sort of, hopefully.
If the two,
But-
I hope,
Yeah.
if we can work that out, that would be great.
Okay.
Motion and a second, further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Chris?
Next item is to authorize the supervisor to execute an agreement with Employee Benefit Services Company, EBS RMSCO Inc., to provide administrative services for both the flexible spending account and the COBRA insurance plans for 2014. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney for the town before us.
Second.
We have similar agreements, and this is, Suzanne, anything you want to say specifically about this one?
I know this is just an agreement, business associate agreement to comply with COBRA, HIPAA
Right.
requirements
And we have had similar ones.
with our insurance broker, yes.
Yep, Ken has reviewed, I don't think this particular one, but has reviewed the similar agreement in the past with other.
Suzanne, a question came to my attention. apparently they've changed their name.
They have, and
It's no longer
actually-
EBS Remsco, it's called Lifeline or something like that?
I think that's correct. And I actually brought this up to the personnel director when he put the communication together, because I
Yeah.
did see notice that they were changing the name. And he said they're phasing it in. At this point, the document that they gave him to sign says EBS Remsco. So he said to leave it as EBS Remsco.
Okay.
I'll tell you, they phased it in pretty fast, because I went out there to their office in Barrington Mall to turn it in, because I was out there for another purpose. And I kept looking for EBS and Remsco, and I couldn't find it.
I got a
I
letter
saw
in the
this
mail today from them, and
Lifetime
it
or
says
something like
Lifetime in
that,
the
and I
corner.
thought, what happened? And they said, oh, no, we're the same, we just changed our name. So, yeah, okay.
Well, and certainly, you know, this authorization would apply.
Sure it would, no, it's just that,
Successor
this was
name
very
change.
recent, this just happened.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye?
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Jason?
Yes, the next matter is for restriction of the West Brighton Fire Department Incorporated from engaging in outside service pursuant to General Municipal Law, Section 209, paren 1. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second?
This is done on the recommendation of the attached memo from the attorney to the town. We have a motion and a second. Dan, please call the roll. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Matters of the supervisor, we have the monthly expense and revenue report for the month ending August 31st. Next month would be the end of the third quarter, and we would, actually, the end of this month will be the end of the third quarter, and in October, we'll have a quarterly report that Suzanne will give. But for the moment, if you would get a motion to receive and file this.
So moved.
Second?
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. As I indicated when I talked earlier about the fun event, a homecoming event at the farmers market this Sunday morning, want to also make people aware of a couple of other bicentennial events coming up. First is our Village Day event, which is coming up this weekend.
Saturday.
This Saturday.
This Saturday.
10:30.
10:30. It involves tours at the Brighton Cemetery at the end of Hoyt Place, which is the street people very often never go down. At the end of the Winton Road off-ramp off of 490, you can go either way on Winton Road, but if you go straight, you go right back into the cemetery overlooking the Can of Worms. Very interesting cemetery. There's been some excavation recently relating to some findings concerning the canal there. But we'll have tours, and most importantly, we'll also be unveiling the rehabilitated Orange Stones gravestone, which had been knocked down and is now going to be standing again. But there are some other interesting historic personages in there. Then we'll come back to Town Hall for lunch and a interesting lecture by our wonderful town historian, Mary Jo Lanphier, about the history of the village of Brighton.
Town, a village, and a town.
Perfect. Now, that's, registration is available on the town website, specifically on the rec department electronic registration page. $5 gets you all that. You will not find a better deal anywhere. So history buffs, there's only a few spots left. I encourage people to sign up right away, and I hope some of the others at the table will be coming. I'm looking forward to it. I'm signed up.
The only thing that might stop me is trying to figure out how to get the registration, but I'll make the effort.
Becky, can I give you some money tonight?
Yes.
Thank you.
We have
That's
very,
easier.
very smart tech people that can
Of
help
course,
you.
answer,
give me
Chris.
your money, I'll take it.
So that's this coming Saturday. A week from Friday night, we mentioned it earlier, Homecoming. Homecoming is a great partnership among the Brighton Central School District, the Brighton Chamber of Commerce, and the town of Brighton. It was really at the Chamber's initiation many years ago. But as was mentioned, we're going to have a parade. We have the tents that we always have. But this also reflects the bicentennial, and we've got some wonderful sort of enhanced activities in the parade. Mary Ann, you've made some great arrangements. Maybe you can sort of update on some of the new. Oh, we're going to have some secrets.
Bicentennial theme will be opening the parade.
Great, great. So come one, come all. Elmwood Avenue will be closed at 4 o'clock that afternoon. We'll have music, we'll have the Chamber's tent, food, fun, and of course the parade. And the parade part is a secret, but there's some cool new stuff that's going to be in there. So wonderful. Let's see. In terms of other matters, I did. We're back in school now. I did a column recently about safety, back to school traffic safety, but I really want to stress, obviously traffic volumes go way up when school comes back in. We've got all of our wonderful children and grandchildren that are walking to school, particularly along some of our busy streets like Elmwood. Please be careful. Please, 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 this is something we've talked about before. School buses, pay attention. Do not pass school buses when their red lights are flashing. Our Brighton Police Department have made this a priority. They have ticketed people. I saw a video, a scary video that I can't remember who it was that published, but it's from another state. But kids getting off a school bus just often are really not paying attention. We've got to pay attention. We've got to stop. If the yellow lights are flashing, exercise great caution. But if the red lights are flashing, do not pass the school bus in either direction. You'll be putting our kids at risk, and you will be ticketed.
Bill, that's particularly of note on the busier streets, because sometimes you don't take note of a school bus 3 lanes across. So Elmwood Avenue, Monroe Avenue, et cetera, there are residences there, there are buses stopping. So make sure you don't ignore those that are oncoming towards you on the other side of the street.
Yep. Just can't stress it enough. Thanks, Chris. That's all I have. Matters of the attorney?
Nothing tonight.
Matters of the clerk?
Just really briefly, I want to thank all of the election inspectors and the coordinators who put in all the hard work yesterday for the primary here in town. Minor hiccups, invisible to the public, just some processing things at the end that kept us a bit late, but thank everybody for, as always, for their hard work. And just as a reminder, with school tax collection in full swing, if those of you who want to partake in the installment plan, Monday the 15th is the due date for the first installment, so make sure you keep that in mind. We're open until 6. That's it.
Thanks, Dan. On the election, the good news is that Brighton did have the highest percentage turnout in Monroe County. The bad news is that turnout was about 18.5%. And we know primary turnouts tend to be low, but it is so important, and I hope and I fully expect that we will have much higher levels. I certainly hope and expect that we will again lead the county in turnout in the November elections, but it's our civic right. It's our civic duty. So November, we're looking for much higher numbers, and but again, I echo your thanks. We went around. I wasn't able to get to all of the polling places. I think you did, but thanking those inspectors that work all day and make it possible. You don't hear, as you said, invisible. You don't hear about hanging chads or some of these other, scandalous, denials of right to vote here, and that's because we have bipartisan election inspectors working, election commissioners working downtown in the county office building, directing, again, bipartisan election inspectors. Those 4 people that you see are evenly split between the Democratic and Republican parties, and they work to make sure that people get a chance to vote. And so we appreciate their efforts, we appreciate the commissioner's efforts, and we appreciate your efforts, Dan. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Matters of the town board.
I have.
Louise?
Bill mentioned the officer that was killed, which was a horrible, horrible thing, and I want to mention the couple of people in Brighton that died this week, and it's a big loss for our community. There was Larry and Jane Glazer, and there was Jim Bybin. Bybin owns the 12 Corners Plaza. Is that how it's called? It's where CVS used to be, and I think another building in town. And of course, Larry Glazer, his holdings have been publicized in the paper. But this is a big loss for Brighton and for the whole Rochester area, and I just wanted to acknowledge it.
Our sympathies and prayers go out to the families, really.
Rick and Ken, and
Yeah.
I hope they'll carry on their parents' tradition.
Well, that's what they've said.
And the broader family. Two true visionaries for this community.
You bet. Certainly were. So,
Anybody else? Thanks to our TV crew for getting this out on the airwaves. I don't know whether we got the streaming problem fixed, but in any event, we do appreciate your hard work. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
so moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye?
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Thank you, everybody. I want to remind everybody, our next meeting will be on Tuesday night, September 23rd, at the usual time of 7 o'clock, right here in Town Hall, right in this room. Tuesday night instead of Wednesday night because of the start of the High Holy Days. Look forward to seeing you all then. Have a great evening.